The wind blew sharply across the icy plains, slicing through the thick layers of the human expedition's clothing. Snow fell like tiny white feathers, covering everything in a soft, frozen blanket. The team had been traveling for weeks on this distant planet, a place far from the warmth of Earth, where the sun barely peaked above the horizon and night seemed endless. The cold was relentless, and even the strongest among them shivered as they trudged through the snow, their boots sinking with every step. They had learned to move carefully, watching for thin ice and deep crevices, but the landscape was unforgiving. Captain Harris, the leader of the small expedition, pulled his hood tighter over his head and scanned the horizon. The snow made it difficult to see, and the bright white world blurred the edges of everything. He could just make out the faint glow of a small figure in the distance. At first, he thought it might be one of his team, lost in the storm, but as they got closer, it became clear that it was something else entirely. A small shape crouched near a snowdrift, shivering violently. Its skin glowed faintly with a soft, bluish light, and its eyes were large and luminous, reflecting the dim light of the setting sun. It was clearly alive but fragile, almost as if the cold might steal its life away in a single moment. The team stopped, uncertain. None of them had ever seen a creature like this before. It was unlike anything recorded in their mission files. "Stay calm," Captain Harris said quietly. "Let's not scare it, approach slowly." Her small body seemed fragile, but there was a spark in her eyes that spoke of life and curiosity. She didn't speak, but she looked at them with a mixture of fear and hope. Miller knelt down at a safe distance, extending a gloved hand. "It's okay," he said softly, his voice carrying warmth in the cold air. "We're not going to hurt you. Do you need help? She'll freeze before nightfall." Miller knelt down and laid the sleeping bag on the snow, letting it unfold gently. "Here," he said softly. "This will keep you warm. Come on, try it." Miller held it open for her and she slipped inside, wrapping herself in the thick fabric. She let out a small, relieved sound, and for a moment she seemed almost human in her need for comfort. Captain Harris shook his head in amazement. "I didn't expect that. She seems intelligent. Look at her eyes." "And she needs us." "Do you think she's alone?" he asked. Harris sighed. "Probably. Her species might travel in groups, but something separated her. Maybe a storm, maybe a mistake. Either way, she's lucky we found her when we did." She made soft noises, almost like humming, and Miller leaned closer to listen. "She's trying to communicate," he said, smiling. "I think she knows we're not dangerous." It was beautiful, but the cold intensified. The team huddled near the shelter, and the alien girl remained in the sleeping bag, safe from the harsh wind. Miller pulled out a small thermal blanket from his pack and draped it over the sleeping bag. The girl's glow dimmed slightly as she relaxed even more, and Miller couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. A simple act of kindness had made a difference. Captain Harris sat down beside him. "It's strange," he said. "We came here expecting to explore, to find new planets, maybe new life, but I didn't think we'd actually meet someone like this. This is what humanity does best, caring for those who need it, even when they're different." Outside, the humans maintained the camp, making sure the shelter would last through the night. They shared small moments of conversation, but most of their attention was on the little life they had rescued. Hours passed, and the snow continued to fall. The alien girl eventually drifted into a deep sleep, her small body rising and falling beneath the sleeping bag. Miller watched her for a while, then stood and checked the other members of the team. Everyone was doing well, considering the harsh environment. He looked up at the stars, thinking about how fragile life could be and how a simple choice to offer warmth could mean everything. "We found her at the right time," he whispered. "She's lucky. And maybe so are we. Did you sleep well?" "I think she just likes warmth." The expedition team began to prepare for the day, but Miller stayed close to the girl. They didn't need words. The simple presence of warmth, safety, and understanding was enough. On a planet where survival was a challenge and the cold was an unyielding force, they had created a small space where life could thrive. For the first time, the alien girl felt safe. And for the humans, the small act of offering a sleeping bag had become the first step in an adventure far greater than exploration. A story of connection, empathy, and the quiet power of humanity. The wind still blew, and the snow still fell, but inside that sleeping bag, under the watchful eyes of the humans, a small life was protected, and a new chapter of trust and friendship had begun. The morning light was pale, spilling over the endless snowfields like a shy, timid guest. The alien girl stirred under the thick folds of the sleeping bag, blinking her luminous eyes at the humans who moved about the camp. She stretched carefully, her small body curling and uncurling like a delicate ribbon in the wind. The warmth of the sleeping bag had given her strength, and now she seemed ready to explore, even if only a little. Miller knelt beside her, offering a small smile. "Morning," he said softly. "Did you sleep well?" "We have something to eat if you're hungry," he said gently. "Do you want to try?" She made a small sound that seemed to express interest. Miller handed her a small piece of soft food, carefully breaking it into tiny portions. She sniffed it, hesitated, and then took it delicately, tasting it with an expression of surprise. The humans watched with quiet fascination. Even in this simple act of eating, they could see her intelligence. She was cautious, observant, and quick to learn. After breakfast, the humans began trying to communicate. They drew pictures in the snow, showing simple images of tents, trees, and stars, pointing to them as they spoke. The alien girl watched intently, her head tilting from side to side. At first, she made soft sounds, experimenting with the noises in her throat and lips. Then slowly she began pointing at images, indicating recognition. Harris knelt beside Miller, whispering, "She's learning fast. She understands more than I expected." She reached for objects the humans offered, a small metal tool, a notebook, and even a simple toy. Each time she examined it carefully, turning it over in her hands and making soft sounds of fascination. The humans laughed quietly at her wonder, recognizing that intelligence and play were universal. When the sun dipped lower, painting the snow in soft shades of pink and violet, Miller decided to take her on a short walk near the camp. They moved slowly, the girl following him with careful steps. She paused to touch the snow, marveling at its texture, then traced patterns with her fingers. She giggled softly when Miller did the same, a clear sign she was beginning to understand the human gesture of shared play. Harris watched them from the camp, noting how natural the interaction seemed. "She's not just intelligent," he said. "She's teaching us patience, observation, and the power of simple gestures." Step by step, they moved together, discovering small details in the snow. Tiny patterns formed by the wind, ice crystals glimmering like tiny stars, and faint tracks left by other creatures long gone. As they walked, the girl began mimicking their gestures. When Miller pointed to a distant ridge, she followed his gaze. When he crouched to examine a footprint, she did the same. It was as if she were learning not just the ways of humans, but the act of observing itself, the way humans understood the world through careful attention. Back at camp, the humans tried to teach her more complex ideas. They showed her how to use a simple compass, how to recognize changes in the wind, and how to identify safe paths across the snow. She absorbed it all quickly, her large eyes reflecting understanding and awe. It was clear she had an extraordinary memory and a sharp mind. At midday, a gust of wind blew through the camp, stronger than before. The alien girl instinctively shrank into the sleeping bag, and Miller rushed to wrap a blanket around her. "It's okay," he whispered. "We've got you." The humans taught her simple words from their language, while she responded with sounds of her own, a musical pattern that seemed almost like a language of tones. Harris noted the rhythm and repetition, scribbling notes in his notebook. "She's not just responding," he said. "She's forming her own system. She's capable of creating language." She began drawing small shapes in the snow with a stick, simple at first, but gradually more complex. Humans gathered around, studying her patterns. Some looked like maps, others like abstract symbols. It was not just art, it was thinking, planning, and expressing. Miller felt a growing sense of admiration. "She's teaching us as much as we're teaching her," he said softly to Harris. "Her way of seeing the world is completely different, but it's brilliant." In the quiet moments, the girl reached out to touch his glove again. Miller held her hand gently, feeling the soft glow of her skin through the thin material. There was no fear now, only trust. It was a simple moment, but it carried the weight of a bridge formed between species, a bridge built on patience, warmth, and understanding. Harris joined them, looking down at the two. "She's remarkable," he said. "We came here to explore a planet, but I think we've discovered something far greater, her and what she shows about us." Though she could not understand the words fully, she understood the feeling behind them, the care, the patience, and the warmth. It was enough. Night fell completely, and the auroras painted the sky in swirling shades of green and violet. The alien girl watched them through the small opening of the sleeping bag, her luminous eyes reflecting the lights above. She hummed softly, a sound that seemed almost like a lullaby, and the humans felt a quiet sense of wonder. Miller gently stroked her back, marveling at how a small gesture could hold so much meaning. "You're safe now," he whispered. "We'll take care of you." Words were not necessary. Connection, trust, and care spoke more loudly than any language could. As the night deepened, the humans shared quiet conversation, reflecting on the day's progress. They had learned about the alien girl, but they had also learned about themselves, their patience, their empathy, and the quiet strength of kindness. In her sleeping bag, the girl drifted off to sleep, a small, contented smile forming on her face. Outside, the wind howled and the snow continued to fall, but within the little space they had created, there was warmth, trust, and the beginning of a friendship that would change both their worlds. The expedition had started as a journey into the unknown, but now it had become something far greater, a story of discovery, not just of a planet, but of the remarkable ability of life to connect, learn, and grow together. The alien girl, who had come alone into the cold night, was no longer lost. She had found friends, teachers, and protectors in humans who showed that even in the harshest conditions, empathy and intelligence could shine brighter than the coldest wind. The next morning dawned crisp and quiet. The snow glistened like countless tiny crystals under the faint light of the planet's pale sun. The alien girl, still wrapped snugly in the sleeping bag, had grown more confident overnight. She no longer flinched at the humans' movements, nor did she hide when they approached. Her luminous eyes followed every gesture, every tool, and every movement with a sharp curiosity that made the humans marvel at her awareness. Miller knelt beside her, offering a small piece of soft food. "Good morning," he said. "Did you sleep well?" Captain Harris joined them, holding a small tablet that displayed diagrams of the planet's geography. "I think it's time we explore a little farther today," he said. "There are ice formations nearby that might give us more clues about this area, and maybe about her home." She was already showing signs of spatial intelligence far beyond what they had expected. They prepared their small team for a short journey, packing essential supplies and ensuring the girl was warm enough for the trek. She seemed eager to join, and when Miller opened the sleeping bag, she slid out gracefully, her small feet leaving faint marks in the snow. She glanced up at him, then at the horizon, and made a series of soft tones, almost like a melody. Miller realized she was communicating, in her own way, a plan for where to go. As they moved through the snowy plains, the alien girl began to demonstrate her unique abilities. She paused frequently, listening intently to sounds that humans could barely perceive. The wind shifted, and she pointed to a thin line of ice that had formed over a hidden crevice. Miller gasped softly as he realized she had detected it long before they saw it. Her instincts, honed by her species' experience with this harsh environment, were remarkable. "She's amazing," Miller whispered to Harris. "She's seeing things we can't even sense. Her species must survive here all the time." Then she moved in a careful, deliberate pattern, leading the humans around thin ice patches and over slippery ridges. Every step she took was precise, almost choreographed, as if she had an innate understanding of the dangers around them. By midday, they reached a plateau that overlooked a vast frozen valley. The view was breathtaking. Ice cliffs glimmered in the pale light, and the distant mountains shimmered like polished glass. The alien girl climbed to the edge, looking down into the valley, and let out a soft, melodic hum. It was not a sound humans could interpret fully, but it carried emotion, a mixture of awe, recognition, and perhaps longing. Miller knelt beside her, pointing toward the valley. "Do you know this place?" he asked gently. She looked at him, then at the horizon, and made a soft, rising tone. She gestured with her hand, sweeping it across the valley, indicating paths and ridges as if to show him something important. It was clear she was recalling memories, or perhaps instinctive knowledge of the terrain. Harris scribbled notes on his tablet. "She's mapping the area in her mind," he said. "She's remembering or imagining pathways, maybe safe spots or landmarks. Her mind works differently than ours, but it's brilliant." Miller looked closer and saw faint traces beneath the surface, tiny imprints, almost like footprints, but different from any creature they had encountered. Harris knelt beside him, whispering, "She's detecting life or evidence of it that we can't even see. She's an observer in ways we are." She pressed it lightly against the ground, then gestured upward toward a jagged formation of ice. It was clear she wanted them to follow her to a specific spot. Hesitant at first, Miller and Harris complied. The girl led them through a narrow ice corridor that opened onto a small cave, hidden from view unless one knew exactly where to look. Inside the cave, the walls sparkled with natural ice formations that reflected the dim light in dazzling patterns. The alien girl approached a section of the wall, touching it gently. She hummed, and the ice responded in a strange way, a faint resonance almost musical. The humans looked around in awe. It was as if the cave itself was alive, vibrating slightly under her touch. "She's interacting with the environment," Miller whispered. "She senses things we can't. She's teaching us again without words." The humans mimicked her movements, learning more in a few hours than they could have in weeks on their own. As they explored deeper, Harris noticed patterns on the cave walls that seemed almost like markings. They were subtle, delicate lines etched into the ice, which glowed faintly in response to her touch. The girl hummed again, moving her hands over the marks in a ritualistic way, as if communicating with the cave itself. "She's remembering something," Harris said. "Or perhaps honoring it. This could be part of her culture, something important to her species." The alien girl was more than intelligent. She was capable of subtle emotional expression, of memory, of connection to her surroundings in ways that humans had not imagined. She was teaching them a new kind of intelligence, one that combined observation, intuition, and empathy. Hours passed, and the light outside began to fade. The alien girl guided them back toward the camp, retracing the paths she had chosen with remarkable precision. She paused occasionally to ensure their safety, her luminous eyes scanning every ridge and drift. Miller could not help but marvel at her awareness. Back at the camp, the alien girl returned to her sleeping bag, curling up and letting the warmth wash over her. Miller knelt beside her, holding her small hand gently. "You've taught us so much today," he said softly. "Not just about this planet, but about paying attention, about understanding, and about kindness." As night fell and the auroras danced across the sky, the humans reflected on the day's discoveries. They had started to understand that intelligence could take many forms, and that empathy, observation, and patience were just as important as technology or strength. The alien girl had shown them that life, no matter how different, could teach lessons beyond words. Miller sat quietly, watching her drift into sleep. The wind howled outside, but within their small camp there was warmth, trust, and understanding. The alien girl had begun to show them not just the survival skills of her species, but also the quiet power of connection, patience, and learning from one another. Captain Harris looked at Miller, a thoughtful expression on his face. "She's remarkable," he said. "We came to explore this planet, but she's opened our eyes to something much bigger. Humanity isn't just about what we discover, it's about what we understand and how we connect." Though she could not speak their language fully, she communicated in ways that transcended it. Her gestures, sounds, and actions carried meaning, teaching the humans lessons they had never expected to learn. That night, as the auroras shimmered above and the snow whispered outside, the humans felt a deep sense of wonder. They had not just found a life form. They had discovered intelligence, curiosity, and a spirit that reminded them of the best parts of themselves. The alien girl had entered their world cold, small, and alone, but she had begun to teach them that life, no matter how distant or different, could be a teacher, a guide, and a friend. Miller watched her carefully, realizing that tomorrow would bring more lessons, more discoveries, and perhaps the beginnings of a deeper understanding of her species. The alien girl's trust had grown, and with it, the human's appreciation for the delicate balance of empathy, intelligence, and courage that bound all life together. In her sleeping bag, glowing faintly in the dim light, she seemed content, even happy. Outside, the wind continued to move across the frozen plains, but within the small circle of warmth and care, a new bond had formed, a bond between species, between worlds, and between hearts. And so, as the night stretched on and the auroras danced across the sky, the humans knew that their journey had become far more than exploration. It had become a story of learning, of connection, and of the extraordinary power of understanding life, no matter how different it might appear. The morning was colder than usual, and a thick mist hung over the snowfields. The humans awoke to a world softened by frost, the horizon almost invisible in the dense white haze. The alien girl stirred in her sleeping bag, her luminous eyes bright against the pale surroundings. She sat up carefully, watching the humans move about their camp. There was a quiet confidence in her gestures now, a sense that she understood both the environment and the humans who had become her companions. Miller knelt beside her, offering a warm drink from a small thermos. "Good morning," he said softly. "Ready for another day." She stretched her small arms, her body moving gracefully, then touched the snow outside the sleeping bag with one glowing hand. She seemed eager to explore. Captain Harris gathered the team and outlined their plan for the day. They intended to travel to a nearby ridge that promised a better view of the surrounding area. It was a simple route, but the mist made visibility poor and the snow could conceal hidden dangers. The alien girl seemed to understand this without needing explanation. She hummed softly and moved toward the humans, gesturing for them to follow. As they walked, the mist grew thicker, curling around their legs and muffling sound. The alien girl paused frequently, sniffing the air, tilting her head and crouching to touch the snow. Miller noticed that she was sensitive to subtle changes in the environment that humans often missed. She would stop, gesture, or hum, and the humans would adjust their path accordingly. Without her guidance, they might have wandered into dangerous areas. Hours passed as they climbed the ridge. The alien girl led with quiet confidence, her small body nimble on the uneven ground. She seemed to anticipate hidden cracks and soft patches of snow, guiding the humans safely around them. Harris and Miller exchanged glances, amazed by how naturally she navigated the terrain. At one point, the group came to a wide, frozen crevasse. Its icy walls were tall and steep, and the snow-covered surface made it nearly impossible to judge its depth. The humans hesitated, unsure how to proceed. The alien girl stepped forward, her glowing hand tracing the edge carefully. She hummed, then crouched and tapped lightly on the ice. Miller watched closely and noticed a faint vibration that echoed through the ground. She had detected a safe path across, invisible to the human eye. Harris smiled quietly. "She's incredible. She can sense things we can't even see." The humans obeyed, moving carefully, and in a few tense moments they were safely on the other side. The ridge offered a view of the frozen valley below. Ice cliffs shimmered in the pale light, and distant mountains rose like jagged teeth against the misty horizon. The alien girl paused to observe, her hands tracing patterns in the air as if mapping the valley in her mind. She hummed softly, and the humans could sense the focus in her movements. She was not just leading them, she was teaching them to see the world in new ways. Miller crouched beside her, pointing to a distant ice formation. "Do you see that?" he asked. She nodded slightly, making a soft, melodic tone that seemed like agreement. Harris scribbled notes on his tablet, documenting her reactions and movements. It was clear she had an extraordinary ability to understand her environment, far beyond anything humans had encountered. As they began to descend the ridge, the mist thickened further and the wind picked up. Snow swirled around them, reducing visibility to just a few feet. The humans huddled closer, following the alien girl's lead. She moved with a natural grace, her glowing eyes scanning the terrain, sensing what lay ahead. Miller noticed that she sometimes stopped, placing her hands on the ground, almost as if listening. Each time she hummed softly, then gestured in a direction that ensured safety. Suddenly, a patch of snow shifted beneath Harris's foot. He stumbled, but the alien girl reacted instantly. She reached out with her small hand, guiding him back to solid ground. Miller helped steady her as she continued, moving confidently despite the worsening weather. The humans realized that her instincts were finely tuned to the environment, and they began to rely on her more than ever. By midday, they reached a small plateau, sheltered from the worst of the wind. The alien girl led them to a natural alcove, where rocks and ice formed a protective barrier. She crouched, pressing her glowing hands to the ground, then hummed in a melodic sequence. The humans understood her intent. She had found a safe place to rest. While the humans ate their meager rations, the alien girl observed. She mimicked some of their gestures, reaching for food and examining it, showing curiosity about their way of eating. She was learning quickly, adapting to human customs while maintaining her own unique behaviors. After eating, Harris suggested they explore a nearby ice formation. The alien girl led the way, moving nimbly over slippery surfaces. Miller followed closely, noting how her movements combined balance, caution, and precision. She paused frequently, gesturing to indicate areas of danger or interest. Each time the humans followed her guidance, they discovered subtle features in the environment they would have otherwise missed. At one point, the alien girl stopped at the edge of a frozen stream. The ice looked solid, but she crouched, tapping it lightly with her hands. A faint vibration traveled through the surface, and she hummed softly, indicating that a path across was safe. Miller and Harris followed her, impressed by her sensitivity. The humans had relied on technology and experience to judge ice before, but she relied on instinct, perception, and acute awareness. As they crossed the stream, the alien girl made a sudden, high-pitched hum, drawing the humans' attention. Ahead, a formation of ice had partially collapsed, creating a narrow gap. She crouched and gestured carefully, guiding them to a safe passage around it. Miller noticed that she moved with a rhythm that seemed almost musical, each motion deliberate and precise. Harris smiled quietly. She's teaching us to pay attention in ways we never have before. It's not just survival, it's understanding, awareness, and careful observation. The humans followed, trusting her guidance completely. Along the way, they discovered subtle changes in the snow, ice patterns that indicated hidden crevasses, and faint tracks that suggested the presence of small creatures. The alien girl reacted to each detail, demonstrating an extraordinary ability to sense life and danger in a frozen landscape. By late afternoon, they reached a small cave near the ridge. The alien girl led them inside, pressing her hands against the icy walls and humming in a melodic sequence. The humans watched in awe as the ice responded subtly, vibrating under her touch. It was as if she had a connection to the environment itself, a way of sensing and interacting with the world that humans could only imagine. Miller crouched beside her, gently touching her glowing hand. "You're amazing," he whispered. "You're showing us a way to see this world we could never understand on our own." It was clear that she understood not only the environment but also the humans who had become her companions. As night fell, the team settled in the cave. The alien girl curled up in her sleeping bag, her luminous eyes glowing softly. Miller and Harris discussed the day's discoveries in hushed tones, marveling at her abilities. "She's more than intelligent," Harris said. "She's teaching us empathy, awareness, and the quiet power of observation. Humanity has a lot to learn from her and from ourselves in how we respond. That's what makes us truly capable in a world like this." The humans realized that the day's journey had strengthened their bond, and that she was no longer a fragile creature in need of protection. She was a partner, a guide, and a teacher. Outside, the wind howled over the frozen plains, but inside the cave there was warmth, safety, and a quiet sense of wonder. The alien girl's glowing eyes reflected the humans' presence, a small light in the cold darkness, a symbol of connection between species and worlds. As they drifted into sleep, the humans felt a deep sense of gratitude. The alien girl had shown them not just how to navigate the frozen planet, but how to understand, adapt, and cooperate in ways that went beyond words. They had learned that the strength of humanity lay not only in exploration and discovery, but in empathy, observation, and the courage to trust in others, no matter how different. And so, as the auroras danced across the sky outside, the humans and the alien girl rested together, a small family bound by trust, curiosity, and the extraordinary lessons of a single day. The frozen world was still harsh and unforgiving, but within the circle of warmth and care they had created, life, understanding, and friendship flourished. The morning light spilled softly across the frozen plains, painting the world in shades of pale blue and silver. The wind had calmed overnight, leaving the snow undisturbed except for the faint tracks of the alien girl and the humans. She emerged from her sleeping bag, her luminous eyes reflecting the first light of day, and stretched gracefully. There was a quiet energy about her, a sense of purpose, as if she knew that today would bring something important. Miller knelt beside her, offering a small piece of soft food. "Good morning," he said gently. "Are you ready for the day?" Captain Harris approached, carrying his tablet filled with maps and observations from the previous days. "We've mapped the ridge and the valley," he said, "but she seems to be leading us somewhere else. Do you see that, Miller?" It was difficult to see from this distance, but the alien girl's excitement was evident. She began moving toward it, stepping carefully yet confidently, and the humans followed without hesitation. As they drew closer, the shimmer became clearer. A small group of her species appeared ahead, partially hidden behind ice formations. They were delicate, luminous creatures like her, with eyes that glowed softly. The humans froze, watching the reunion unfold. The alien girl sped up slightly, her small figure glowing brighter with excitement. She let out a series of high-pitched melodic tones, and the others responded instantly, moving toward her with matching sounds. Miller and Harris watched in awe. They had never seen a reunion so full of emotion, yet it contained no words, no gestures of fear, only trust and recognition. The alien girl ran the last few steps, then paused as her species surrounded her. She hummed softly, and they reciprocated, creating a melody that seemed to ripple through the air. It was a language of sound, a connection beyond words. One of the creatures stepped forward, larger than the rest, with a calm and wise presence. The alien girl approached it and touched it lightly with her glowing hands. The creature responded in kind, and the humans could sense a deep bond between them, family, community, and understanding. Captain Harris whispered to Miller, "She found them. She brought us to her people." "I never imagined we'd witness something like this." They circled the group carefully, observing the humans' gestures and listening to their sounds. The humans raised their hands in greeting, cautious but friendly. The creatures responded with gentle hums, creating a harmony of communication that bridged the gap between worlds. The alien girl guided the humans closer, touching their gloves lightly and gesturing toward the creatures. It was clear she wanted the humans to be accepted, to share in the trust that existed among her species. Miller held out his hand, and one of the creatures touched it tentatively, glowing faintly as a sign of recognition. Harris did the same, and the creatures responded with more melodic tones. For the humans, it was a moment of awe. They had come to this planet to explore and discover, yet they had been shown the true meaning of connection, trust, empathy, and the power of small acts of kindness. The alien girl had led them not just through the physical landscape, but through a journey of understanding and shared experience. The group spent the morning in quiet observation. The alien girl moved among her species, exchanging gestures and sounds, demonstrating her intelligence and her ability to communicate across differences. She even showed the humans how to interact safely with her kind, guiding their movements and helping the creatures feel comfortable in their presence. Miller crouched beside the girl for a moment. "You've brought us here," he said softly. "You've shown us your people, your home. You've taught us more than any planet or star could." Harris approached, looking at the humans and the alien species together. "This is more than exploration," he said quietly. "It's a lesson in understanding, in humility, and in the importance of empathy. We came here thinking we'd teach, but we've learned so much from her." The humans observed the alien species' behavior, noting their communication patterns, movements, and social interactions. The alien girl demonstrated many subtle gestures, showing how her species shared warmth, knowledge, and care. The humans copied these gestures, creating a dialogue of understanding that transcended language. As the sun began to dip low on the horizon, painting the snow in shades of pink and gold, the alien girl led the humans to a small clearing. Her species gathered there, their soft glows illuminating the space. She gestured for the humans to sit, then moved among her kind, sharing gestures and melodic sounds. It was clear that she had shared something important about the humans, showing her people that they could be trusted. Miller watched, feeling a deep sense of pride and wonder. "She's remarkable," he whispered. "She's not just intelligent, she's a teacher, a guide, and a bridge between worlds." Humanity's strength isn't just in exploration or technology. It's in empathy, understanding, and the willingness to connect. Miller and Harris felt the meaning of her song, understanding that this was a moment of closure and celebration. The creatures of her species gathered around, their glowing forms creating a small, vibrant circle. The alien girl moved among them, demonstrating gestures of friendship and care. The humans realized that she had brought them here not just to reunite with her people, but to share the experience of trust and kindness that had grown between them all. As the evening deepened, the humans prepared to leave. The alien girl approached Miller and Harris, touching their hands one last time. Her glow was soft but steady, conveying a sense of farewell, trust, and hope. She hummed, and the humans responded with gentle tones of their own, creating a final bridge of understanding between species. Captain Harris knelt beside her. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You've taught us so much about your world, your people, and the best parts of ourselves. We'll never forget you." She turned to her species, who gathered around her, glowing softly in the twilight. The humans watched as the group prepared to move together across the frozen plains, disappearing slowly into the distance. Miller looked at Harris, a thoughtful expression on his face. "We came here to explore a planet," he said softly. "But we discovered something far greater: the strength of connection, the power of kindness, and the importance of understanding life that is different from our own. That's what makes us strong, not just exploration, not just technology, but the way we treat others." They had learned to trust, to adapt, and to communicate in ways that went beyond language or species. As night fell, the auroras painted the sky in swirling colors of green and violet. The humans paused to watch, feeling a deep sense of wonder. The alien girl's presence lingered in their minds, a reminder of the extraordinary power of trust and kindness. They had been part of something rare, something beyond discovery. They had been part of a story of connection that would stay with them forever. Miller glanced at the horizon, imagining the alien girl moving safely among her people. He felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing that she had been protected, understood, and accepted. The humans had learned not just about her world, but about their own capacity for empathy and understanding. Harris walked beside him, his eyes reflecting the glow of the auroras. "She taught us more than we could have imagined," he said. "Not just about survival, but about cooperation, care, and the importance of seeing beyond ourselves. That's humanity at its best." As they reached their base camp, the humans looked back one last time at the frozen plains. Somewhere out there, the alien girl glowed softly in the twilight, safe with her people, thriving in a world that had once seemed so lonely and harsh. The humans smiled, knowing that they had witnessed something extraordinary, the power of kindness, intelligence, and trust bridging two species across the stars. And so, the expedition ended not with a simple report or discovery, but with a story of friendship, learning, and the remarkable ability of life to connect. The alien girl who had arrived shivering and alone had become a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of hope. And the humans, forever changed, carried with them the reminder that true strength lies not only in what we achieve, but in how we care, understand, and trust one another, across worlds, species, and hearts.